Hi, and welcome to the webinar. Today we'll be exploring Usajobs.Gov. My name is Keaton Welch. I'm a graduate teaching assistant at Ohio University. So my experiences with USA Jobs, I've worked 11 seasons with National Park Service, 2 seasons with the Youth Conservation Corps crew in Yellowstone National Park. I've worked 7 seasons in Point Reyes National Seashore on the trail crew, and I've also worked 2 seasons as a law enforcement ranger at Rocky Mountain National Park. The outline for this webinar will go over what is USA Jobs, basic and advanced searches, review of an opportunity announcement, creating an account, how to apply, the hiring timeline, and then we'll go over some tips and tricks. This is going to be a lot of information. It's commonly referred to as trying to drink out of the fire hose. So while there's a lot of information, I'm just going to cover the highlights, and I'll try to hit all the highlights as I can. So what is USA Jobs? USA Jobs consolidates most federal opportunities in one online tool. Last time anyone tried to count the amount of departments, agencies, and sub-agencies in the federal government, they figured there was around 430, and that was an estimate. Through the Office of Personnel Management, they said in 2007, natural resource and biological sciences ranked 4th among all occupations that year. Now I say most federal opportunities because there's a few exempted agencies. Agencies such as the Central Intelligence Agency, the FBI, and the U.S. Postal Service are considered exempt from this application process. And a couple jobs within non-exempt agencies are considered exempt as well. Specialized jobs such as chaplains or attorneys are considered exempt, as well as student trainees. So here we have a basic search. This is the home page of USA Jobs, and you can see right here we have 2 search bars. It's a pretty slick search bar. You can type in a title or any other kind of filter, and it'll give you a drop down like you see, or you can search by location. But the really cool thing about USA Jobs is the advanced search. You can see on the right side of the screen right here that you have these filters. Now this is the results of a basic search. You can see we just searched for park ranger, but on the right hand side this is where you're going to find your advanced search items. So the first item you have, one of the top filter, is hiring path. Under this hiring path you can see who's eligible for applying for certain jobs. You can see jobs that are open to the public, federal employees, veterans, National Guard, Peace Corps, etc. And you can see the corresponding logo on each individual job. The next filter is going to be your pay and grade. Now you can go by salary. They only let you go up to $500,000 a year, which is GS7. So I would recommend using this general schedule to figure out where you fall within the federal system. Now this is the general schedule pay system, but I've seen other systems such as WS or Work Leader, that'd be WL. But this is generally how all the grades line up throughout the different schedules. So you can see that GS5 is usually college students, GS7 requires a bachelor's degree, GS9 requires a master's degree, 11 is a PhD, 12 through 15 are reserved for those with special skills. And there's different ways to qualify for a position, but we'll get into that later. Another filter you can use to filter your search results is the department and agency. You can put which department you'd like to work for, say for example the Department of the Interior, which would include the Bureau of Land Management and the Park Service. But if you wanted to get a job specifically with the Park Service, you can choose that option. Another way to filter your results is to use series. Now this is an example series of 0025, which is a park ranger series. This series describes any job that would fall within this description. Positions could include a law enforcement ranger, an interpretive ranger, a wildland firefighter, and other such positions. And if you search 0025, it will pull up all positions that meet this description. There are more filters such as security clearance or percentage of travel required for your position, but those are considered minor filters, and if you want to use them, go ahead, by all means go ahead, but we won't cover it in this webinar. So you can see at the top we have our different filters. But what I really want to show is the save this search function on USA Jobs. You can save these filters to be automatically searched on USA Jobs, and they'll email you the results by different increments. Right now we have the weekly selected, but you can do daily, weekly as I mentioned, or monthly, or you can set it to never if you just want to keep the filters. So here we have an opportunity announcement that we found. The key features, you can see that we have the opportunity title, you have the department and agency who will be hosting the position, the application open and close dates. Now you can see here that this is a specific closing date. There's another type of closing date, which is called an open inventory announcement. And what they're going to do with this announcement is it will be open for a year, and when the need arises for this job, what the hiring officials will do, they'll go into the database where everyone who's applied for this job has submitted their application, and then pull applications as they see fit. You have your pay scale, grade, and salary, appointment type, and work schedule, and you also have location. Now, one of the strengths about USA Jobs is they group jobs by description, not location. So you can see here that we have one availability in the Grand Canyon. But on these other examples, you can see that there's multiple vacancies in multiple locations. The example on the right shows that there's 57 locations with few vacancies at each one. By applying for one job, you can effectively apply, in this scenario, for at least 57 jobs. Let's say that there are 2 vacancies at each location. You've effectively applied to 114 jobs at one time. You also have the hiring path, who the job is available to. And then you also have a save job to profile. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So there's a lot of information within these opportunity announcements. And it's a lot of good information about the job. However, for the sake of time, we're not going to be able to read all this information. And we're going to go through, and I'll point out some of the highlights as we go. Like I said, this is a lot of good information, and I recommend that any job you apply for, you read all of it. So first we'll start with the duties. You can see here that they anticipate this job will start on December 11th, 2017. And then they also have the application information in regards to applying. You can see here that while this is only open for a set amount of time, they're also limiting it to the first 50 applicants. And for the open inventory, this is where they'll explain how they'll be hiring. Responsibilities sections is a basic job description. And then they also go over whether or not housing will be available. Here it says that if you do get this job, housing will be available. However, they won't be able to provide accommodations for family members or pets. So in the requirements section, this first section is what I like to call it the screen out section. If you don't meet any of these requirements, they automatically reject your application. You can see here that one such qualification is subject to pre-employment physical and drug test, as well as U.S. citizenship. In this section is how you're going to prove that you're qualified for this position. There's 3 ways to prove that you're qualified for a position. Experience is broken down into 40 hours a week for 4 weeks equals 1 month of experience. This doesn't have to be paid experience. Volunteer experience counts towards your qualification as well. However, if you don't work for 40 hours a week, let's say for example, you only work 20 hours a week for 4 weeks, that would only equal a half month of experience. The second way to qualify is through education. 1 year at a GS5 level is broken down into 30 semester credit hours or 45 quarterly hours. And at a GS7 position, it is considered 18 semester hours, and that's at a graduate level. The third way to qualify for any position is a combination of experience and education. So if I was to run away and join the National Park Service and apply for this position, you can see that on the left-hand side of this equation, I have 12 current semester hours out of the minimum 18, which will equal 0.67. For the experience side of this formula, you can see that I only have 5 months out of the required 12. Break those down into decimals, and you can see that at 0.67 and 0.42, add those up, and I have 1.9. In order for this formula to prove that you're qualified, at least or above 1. If you're going to use education either as a sole qualifying characteristic or in combination with your work experience, you have to provide a transcript. Now, at the time of application, you do not have to provide an official transcript, and you can submit an unofficial transcript. But if you are selected for the position, they will require an official transcript. All right, we're almost done here. Physical demands and working conditions will give you more information about the job you're about to sign up for. And this continuation of the conditions of employment will tell you other things about your job, such as if you're required to wear a uniform or if you're required to be on call. How you'll be evaluated goes over how you'll be evaluated for the appropriateness of your application to this position, as well as how you'll be ranked against other applicants. Required documents will describe a little bit more of what documents are required for the position. If you're planning on using a particular pathway to apply for the position, say if you're a veteran and you'd like to apply for veteran status, you'll need to prove that in your application, and you'll find that information here. All right, we'll take a step away from all that information and go over the USA Jobs account. Some key features on the account will be your profile, Documents tab, your Applications tab, Save Jobs, and Save Searches. So first, we'll start off with profile. There are two required areas in your profile. The first being your contact information, where you live, how they're going to reach you, email address. And then the second area is your eligibility. The eligibility tab more deals with specific pathways, such as if you're applying for veteran status or student worker. The two optional sections will be demographics and preferences. These are considered optional because they have no bearing on any applications. In the Documents tab is broken down into resume and other documents. In your resumes sub-tab, you can have a maximum of 5 resumes, and you can choose to use the resume builder. The resume builder will build a resume for USA Jobs. It's broken into 4 sections. Work experience, you'll need to fill one of these out for every work experience you're going to claim. There's also an option to include contact information for your supervisor. If you would like to use a supervisor as a work reference, click yes or contact me first and put in the additional information. The next section is education. Once again, you'll have to fill out one of these for each educational experience you'd like to claim. The other sections, and then references. Because you chose some work references in your work experience section, these references can be more character witnesses. References here can include mentors, coworkers, etc. You can also choose to upload your own resume. I would recommend that you use the resume builder on USA Jobs. If you were to upload your own resume, you might not have all the information that a federal hiring official needs. In the other documents sections, you can have up to 10 supporting documents. Examples of supporting documents could be college transcripts, hiring path supporting documents, for example, proof of military service, or a specific pathways program. I have my land management workforce flexibility supporting documents. Cover letter. In the private sector, cover letters are read first. In the government sector, cover letters are read last. And we'll get into this a little bit later. You can have your driver's license, medical certificates, miscellaneous certificates. I have my wildland firefighter and law enforcement commission as a supporting document as well. For the application tab, you can keep track of your most recent applications. And you can also look at your archived applications. This keeps applications that you have applied for the last 3 years. You can see I have 57. The Save Jobs bookmark. The Save Job tab will keep all of your opportunity announcements that you've saved. And the Save Search tab keeps all of your automated searches in one place. You can have a maximum of 10 of those searches. Okay, so we've gone over basic and advanced searches. We've gone over the profile, and we've gone over an opportunity announcement. Let's apply for a position. So, USA Jobs will ask you to select a resume that's in your resume tab. It will ask you to select which supporting documents you'd like to include. And it will give you a chance to review your application package. The next window will be a marketing tool. USA Jobs is always looking to improve the process. All right, once you certify all your information is as true as it can be, you'll continue on to the agency site. So at the agency site, they'll upload all your documents from USA Jobs. They'll ask you to confirm your contact and biographic information, as well as what hiring pathways you'd like to claim. And then it gets into the real meat of the matter, the self-assessment questionnaire. Now, the self-assessment questionnaire asks you to rate yourself on given criteria. These are the criteria that you'll use to rate yourself. from A, having no education, training, or experience performing this task, all the way to E, where you're considered an expert in performing these tasks. A lot of people have problems with the self-assessment questionnaire because they don't rate themselves high enough. So my advice to you is give yourself as much credit as possible while still being honest. I can't stress enough that people don't give themselves enough credit. So be generous but truthful. Because depending on your answers, evaluative software will typically conduct the first cut of the applicant pool. If you don't rank yourself high enough on this self-assessment questionnaire, you'll never get to the hiring official. That being said, many people have decided to use the echo out method and mark themselves expert for everything. Once you get past the evaluative software, your application is going to be reviewed by an HR specialist. If your skills are not supported in your resume as opposed to the self-assessment questionnaire, they will lower your grade manually. Once you finish the self-assessment questionnaire, you'll be asked to group your documents into categories. If you don't assign a document to a category, that uncategorized document will not be included in your application. You'll be given a chance to review and submit. You can see here I missed a question in the self-assessment questionnaire, so I had to go back and answer it before I could submit my application. Once you submit your application, you'll be given this screen. Your application has been received. It should be noted here that you can go back and change your application package at any time before the close of the announcement. Alright, so what happens now? When the announcement closes, your application will go into the database and it will be reviewed by the evaluative software. Those that have been ranked qualified by the evaluative software will be passed on to the HR specialist who will review it further. After your applications have been reviewed by the HR specialist, you'll be put in one of 3 different categories: best qualified, qualified, and minimally qualified. The best qualified will be passed on to the hiring manager. At this time, the hiring manager can only see those that are on the best qualified list. The only way that a hiring manager can see the next list is if they exhaust all applicants on the list they currently have. The hiring manager will interview candidates, and then the hiring manager will offer the candidate a position. Best case scenario, this entire process can take about 80 days. The Office of Personnel Management tries to keep between that 80 days best case scenario and 180 days as a worst case scenario. So what does that mean? If you're looking for a summer job that usually starts in May, best case scenario, you'd have to apply for a job by the end of February. Worst case scenario, you'll have to apply for a job by the middle of November. However, this process does not take into account that this is only for selection, not for the amount of paperwork you'll have to fill out once you get hired. Hiring officials usually plan to have a 2-week buffer between selection of an applicant and processing the paperwork before their anticipated start date. So that's the USA Jobs process. Before we go, I'd like to give you some tips and tricks to help you with your USA Jobs process. The first tip that I can offer is to add dates to your documents. This will help you keep track of what experience is on your resumes, and I also put a date on my medical documents to make sure that none of my certifications are expired. I would also add your last name to the end of your document title. This just makes easier file management for HR personnel. Another thing that a lot of people overlook is they don't redact their photos. Anywhere there's a photo of you, you need to cover it up. Hiring officials are not allowed to see photos of applicants. If a hiring official sees a photo of the applicant, these are grounds for the application to be thrown out. It's an easy enough fix with Microsoft Word or a Paint program. Just be sure that you do not block out any information. Again, I can't stress enough about the self-assessment interpretation. Feel free to blow your own horn as long as you're being honest. The second to last tip that I can offer you is to maximize your keywords in your resume. Use the self-assessment questionnaire to gather these keywords. You can see a sample of a self-assessment questionnaire that I've taken from a position. Take those criteria and reword them and put these into your resume. Rewording the self-assessment criteria makes the job of the evaluative software and HR personnel easier. My last tip for you is don't be afraid to call if you're not referred. Obviously, don't harass human resources if you felt like the job was a long shot anyways. If you truly feel that you qualified, feel free to contact the HR specialist in the notice. Applications are reviewed by evaluative software and HR specialists, not by position specialists. And let's face it, it's not a perfect system. Mistakes can be made. I know that was a lot of information, and there's more information out there. If you have further questions about the USA Jobs process, here are some resources. USA Jobs itself has a comprehensive help desk. You can also find answers to your questions within the Office of Personnel Management webpage. The last resource that I'd recommend, visiting Transforming Youth Outdoors. Transforming Youth Outdoors has partnered with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to create the Outdoor Career Toolkit. This toolkit focuses on outdoor careers in the public and private sectors. It's a free toolkit and gets into the nitty-gritty details of USA Jobs that I was not able to cover today. I hope you found this webinar informational and hopefully was able to answer some of your questions. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great day.